Welcome to the Bass and Brews podcast, your weekly distraction from other high-quality podcasts. And now, your host, Alex from Swamp Rat Fishing, and the co-hostess with the mostest, the Jabberhammer, Paul Roberts.
Oh, Paul, I feel like you were so good at hitting that cue like right away. And now I don't know whether it's the gout or whether it's your disgusting goat beard, but you've gotten worse every week.
Oh God.
Alex,
you know what? You know what? I can't hear it. I hope it's coming across, but you can go jump off a short bridge and drown in 2 foot of water.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Bass and Brews.
Oh, that one got me.
We've got Alex Rudd on, and we've got, just to go along with what I've been pushing out on social media, we've got a spicy topic tonight. But before we get to that,
the hate mail will ensue after this one.
Oh yeah. Oh no.
Listen, I'm used to it. Tell them to all forward it my way. I'm used to it.
I've got it. Listen, if when we're done with this, if people have really strong feelings about what's going to get said tonight, definitely DM me. If you think we're idiots, definitely email us at bassandbrews@gmail.com. I'll do a whole video where I read them out. And Paul will be in a tutu the whole time. I love hate mail. I think it's like the best thing ever. Total side note, I did get a hate DM on TikTok earlier this week, and it said, "Hey, if you're a really good podcast, why do you keep putting up videos to make people watch your stuff?" And I went, "Hey, bud, I think that's kind of how it works."
Did you ask Joe Rogan the same question? $500 million from Spotify later.
Hold on, I didn't even get to that. I was like, "Hey, man, that's kind of how it works. Like, I'm promoting the show and kind of, side content to that." And he goes, "Well, do you think Joe Rogan does the same thing?"
Yes.
And I sent him links to like YouTube and all this, and he goes, "That's just somebody who films them. That's not actually him." And I was like, "All right, boss. Obviously, you have no idea what you're talking about." So this guy thought that there was just some random person in the JRE studio filming on their phone the interviews.
No, that's Jamie. Like,
Yeah.
Hey, Jamie, look this up. Probably the most famous Jamie of all time.
Right.
Putting all that on the internet. Like, okay, let's. Joe Rogan has surpassed the point of doing anything for himself.
Oh yeah.
Like, other than sitting down and doing the podcast, he's got kiss your ass money. And so like he just like he hires somebody to do that for him. Like, I'm still in the position where I do everything myself. I am far from being able to hire somebody to do all my crap for me. Joe Rogan, on the other hand, goes, "Hey, Jamie, hire us the best videographer and editor in the world and have him do all of our stuff and put it on the internet for us." And he just doesn't even think about it unless he like post a picture of Marshall on his Instagram, and then that's him, because like you can definitely tell it's Joe Rogan posting that.
Listen,
Hey,
I heard that Joe Rogan's at the point where Steven Spielberg is now doing the shorts for him. So that's he's at that level of money.
I would not be
Alex, for that guy in your DMs, I have something for him.
Oh my God. This is gonna be all show.
Well, the end of that is just juicy.
Yeah, that's a wetting. Hey, I'll tell you what, another one, if y'all hadn't listened to Jordan Harbinger's show, that's a really, really, really good podcast too. That shit's pretty badass. Y'all need to check him out. I like his a little bit better than Rogan. I don't listen to Rogan. Matter of fact, Jordan Harbinger's the only damn podcast I listen to that ain't fishing. And I just kind of got into it.
I never listened to Joe Rogan, but I don't like him as much as I like him.
I have. I listened to him. Had Wim Hof on and some other people like that. But yeah, the Harbinger.
I'm gonna tell you what. Maybe this is a new segment, but on the show. But I've been listening to I like true crime podcasts, just like every other basic lady out there. And I found one that's fishing related. It's called the Paddlefish Caviar Heist. And it's about this
caviar heist.
Yeah, so it's about this U.S. Fish and Wildlife bust called Operation Roadhouse, where they busted the Russian mafia in a paddlefish caviar scam in Warsaw, Missouri, on the Lake of the Ozarks. It's like,
oh my gosh, there it is. I am literally, I'm following it right now.
dude, it's well done, but it's got, all like the murder mystery stuff. And then they explain like caviar in detail. It is awesome. But some of the descriptions from the locals, like, the hosts go to Warsaw, and the first hotel they go to, there's a big sign and it says, you are not to clean fish or bring fish into hotel room. They must be checked in with the front desk. And they ask, well, why is that there? And they're like, well, during snagging season, multiple times they've had people come in and like process paddlefish in the bathtub of the room or in the bed. And it'll stay like that for like 7 days. And it got so bad that there was like 4 rooms that had to be gutted all the way down to the sheetrock being replaced to get the fish out of the room.
Hey, y'all want to know what the best caviar out there is?
Yeah.
Those 7 to 9 pound female bass, largemouth bass, those have the best caviar you've ever eaten in your entire life.
Oh gosh, I can vouch for that. Yeah.
Oh man,
that and kicking puppies is also really great, and so is infanticide. And the Nazis might or might not have had it right. I mean, like literally in the world of bass fishing, literally that is what you just said. Like that's what you just said. Like that's what is so funny about that statement is like there are people that be like, that's on the level of Nazism. It's like, no, it's not. It's still a fish. It's not Nazism.
If we're gonna drum up some damn hate mail, we might as well get eating trophy bass out of the lake first.
I want to make sure that the historian marks this down. Rudd has been on the show twice now in less than a month and has talked about Nazis twice already.
Yes. Listen, I'm entering that point in my life where I either get really deep into smoking meat or really deep into World War II, and I'm kind of on the verge of picking which one that is. Okay, so just let me be.
If you ever want to talk about smoking? Hey, if you ever want to talk about smoking some damn meat, now I'm always down to talk about smoking meat.
Dude, I love my smoker, but I also love World War II. So I'm very torn. You know what I mean?
All right. Well, before we get too much farther, I want to give a shout out real quick to Sean the Fisherman from Jigs and Bigs. That man devoted way too much of his time on helping me work on a resume because I've got to get a fucking job now. And so props to you, Sean. Thank you so much. As somebody who's never done a fucking resume because I joined the military at 18, he literally multiple hours spent crafting it so I can become a civilian in the workforce. So, Sean, thank you so much for that, man. And Paul,
this is going to be
this announcement.
This is going to be Sean's most greatest achievement in his entire life if he helps you get a job.
What is that supposed to mean, Paul? I thought we were supposed to be nicer to me. Listen, have you not listened to the fans? They're tired of your uncalled for hatred towards me and of all the troops in America. God, he's just trying to find an excuse to use that fucking soundboard.
Hey, yeah, it's gonna be good. Oh, hold on.
Oh.
Hey, hold on. Do what?
All right. Yeah, he's got a little. He's got dad duty. Dude, he's a podcaster. He's a crusher.
I'll tell you what I'm doing right now. This is no joke. I'm on the Missouri Department of Natural Resources website trying to find their contact information so I just want to email them and be like, hi, I have a podcast and I want to have somebody on to come on and talk about the caviar from the
dude. If the names are in there, like there's the local fish and wildlife guy, he retired, but she literally talks about how she sent him an email and he was like, yeah, come on over. I'll cook steaks. We'll drink beer and I'll tell you all about it. And he did it for like 30 years. And then she was like, well, he wasn't quite involved because he got pushed to the U.S. level. So I sent an email. Within an hour, the federal agent in charge of the operation was like, yeah, not a problem. Let's sit down and talk about it. You can make this happen, Rudd.
Oh, dude, I'm doing it. Like I'm 1,000%. This would be the greatest podcast series of all time. It's like the caviar spoonbill heist. All right, I'm sorry. I keep interrupting.
Well, what happens if you so another show basically for Alex Rudd Fishing, right? You've got to drum up like the craziest or oh shit, do I want to put this idea out there actually? So you put up like the craziest like fish and game stories out there. And you do it like bi-monthly where you talk to them, you as an angler talk
I
to
like
these
this.
guys and like, because these guys got to have stories of crazy shit going on.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, it's like that dude
Right.
that was on Rogan that found all those Mexican drug cartel guys growing marijuana in the mountains of Colorado, and they like had to go up there with machine guns and cut them down. Like,
Dude, I'm telling you, just that's, you know, we don't ever edit the show. I might edit that out because I feel like either you do it or we do it on Bass and Brews.
I'm sending it. I'm sending it.
Yeah.
Like,
All
I'm
right.
doing it.
Joint podcast. Joint podcast. That one. We'll do it together. Hey, I used to know one of the National Forest Service guys that when what's his name? The Unabomber, when he was hiding out in the North Carolina mountains.
Mhm.
I used to know one of the National Forest what the fuck, I can't even talk, Forest Service guys that was out leading the FBI around trumping through the woods of North Carolina looking for him.
I'm telling you, I got it right here too. It's called Outdoor Renegades. And it's just about the crazy shit that Fish and Wildlife sees. $1 million idea. I want 0.5%, Red.
0.5%. I'll do you even a solid and give you 5% of it.
Whoa, man. You guys, if anybody knows anything about how much podcasters make, that is no money at all.
Yeah,
But
that is not even enough to buy yourself a meal at McDonald's. But you know
that's
what?
actually Rudd sending me a bill. I owe him money.
Bill, yeah, you're gonna owe me postage back because it's gonna cost that much to get it to you.
All right. So speaking of podcasts, I know Paul's handling some dad stuff and he's being all shy about this, but Paul released his own solo podcast outside of Bass and Brews. It's called Entertainingly Educational, and it's not fishing related. As somebody, Paul's supposed to talk it up, but he's being all shy about it. I listened to it. If you like Paul's craziness, it's all of that. But what he's got is guests that have nothing to do with the outdoors, really. He's just talking to some of the most interesting people that you've never heard of. And it's a really good show. What do you have, Paul? 2 episodes, right? An intro and then an actual real one?
Yeah, sorry I had to step away. My
okay.
My son is not going to sleep, and he's out here apologizing and being, a sweet little 8-year-old. So we're taking care of that.
Can't look Carter needs to become
That's
eyes
right.
closed Carter.
Woo. Telling you what. Yeah, entertainingly educational. It's a podcast. It's conversation driven. I've got 2 episodes. The first episode, if you listen to Bass and Brews, you can listen to it, but it's just me telling my story and kind of an introduction to me and the podcast. You can go listen to it if you like, but if you've listened to this show enough, you've heard that story. Episode 2 was the first guest, Dale Dupree. Dale is a leader in the sales world, but he has a really cool, interesting story. So this podcast is going to be what it says, entertaining, educational. And for him, we didn't talk about really sales. We talked about his journey, and he had a couple bouts where he tried to commit suicide and depression and stuff that he did to come out of it. So that one was a real deep episode. The next one coming up is a good buddy of mine who's in college football, and that'll hit Monday. So that one will be about football. But I've got Apache helicopter pilot coming on, a professional woman soccer player, football, chef that's been on the Food Network a few times in some of those competitions. So it's going to be a wide range of interesting people. I would say a lot of them you probably never heard of. And it's their journey. It's their journey. They go on podcasts or they do stuff and they're always talking about the thing that they do. This is how they got there, how they got to where they are now. It's going to be a good time, I hope. I know it'll be a good time. So we just, we got to get some listeners in there. So if y'all are so inclined, it will be long form. It'll probably be an hour and a half to 2 hour podcast.
It's fucking you, Paul. Of course it's going to be long form.
Yep, that's right. That's right. But we're not going to get into too awful long, but it'll be a good time for sure. And we'll have guests. Weekly episodes will come out. I got to get some artwork done. But yep, it's out there. It's ready. Next episode 3 will drop Monday. Y'all go check it out.
And definitely go listen to it, guys, because episode 2, he starts it off with this tagline about a campfire, which is the same tagline that he uses for Bass and Brews. So the more you guys listen to it, the more that I can charge Paul if he ever gets famous, because he basically stole my idea. And we're going to have a whole Cher and what was his name? The guy ran to the tree. Oh my God, that fucking sound!
Sonny
I
Bono.
hate that sound. I hate that
So-
soundboard already.
So first of all, I brought the campfire shit, and I told you I wrote down like 85 iterations of something that wasn't it, and that one just sounds the best. So damn it, I'm gonna
Yeah, no,
copyright that
I
shit,
expect
and you're gonna have to
when
pay
you
me.
become the new Joe Rogan that you've
No,
never
no.
listened to, but you still don't like,
I have,
expect
but no.
some proceeds.
Yep, we'll see. You know what? We'll finally be able to buy some shit if we get both of these making more than 10 cents every other episode.
All right, so the topic,
Ooh,
you're going to see it from the
hold up.
title.
Hold up, let me tell y'all something. YouTube Facebook Reels. I just got a check. I just got a check for $330.
Did you really?
I did for Facebook Reels. I'm telling you, y'all need to start doing some Facebook Reels.
Facebook is so desperate. They're paying you for fucking content, Paul.
That is how bad Facebook Reels are that I made $300. Facebook.
Honestly, if you think about that, that is quite a substantial amount of money for literally nothing.
Nothing.
Like nothing.
Especially the stupid shit I put out is literally shit nothing.
Yes.
And you're just repurposing content, right, Paul?
Well, yeah, I make a video on my phone of me going, y'all look, and opening my tailgate, and it's 7 seconds, and it goes out to all the platforms individually. I put them out individually. But yeah, I mean, it's predominantly 7-second videos of the dumbest shit you have ever watched in your entire life. But that's what the world we're living into.
It's worth $300.
We are at the beginning of the movie Idiocracy.
It
has begun.
1984 is what we are.
No, Idiocracy. We're past 84 is Idiocracy. I mean, 7
Go
seconds
away,
of
Baton.
useless shit everywhere. It is useless. But anyway, there you go. There's my little service.
I like it.
announcement.
Well, speaking of baiting, so you guys are going to see it in the title of this, and this is not clickbait. We've got some spicy topics, and this whole episode was kind of built around Rudd had commented on a couple of my or specifically on the unpopular opinion about dealing with bass fishing, right? Bass fishing and pro bass fishing as a whole. And that's what we're going to cover tonight. And I already know that this is going to be wonderful. So let's start out let's cover semantics, right? And we're going to go around the room here.
Can we yell at each other at some point tonight, please?
Oh, 100%. Well, I think you and so here's how this is going to work. For the most part,
I'm going to be yelling at Paul Alex for sure. I know it.
Yeah. I'm going to act as a moderator on this one because I think me and Rudd have pretty much the same idea, but I know Paul has a whole different idea on this thing. So I want to start out first.
Here's the good thing about you being in the middle of me and Rudd fighting is that you're too short to get hit in the face by accident. So you're out of the range of any punches.
Gets too out of control. It's just one stiff jab to the nuts for both of us, and it's over with.
That's right.
Also,
probably a headbutt. Probably a headbutt.
And even our beards are like transitional, right? Like Rudd's got the magnificent mountain man. I've got the old man trying to be hip, and I'm finally going to grow my face. And Paul, you have that homeless raccoon behind a Buc-ee's.
That's right. That's right. That is, you know what? You know the raccoon that opens up the dumpster and is standing there like
that's you.
That's what my beard looks like. It's exactly what it looks like.
All right. So to start this off, let's be clear. Rudd, you got this first.
Yeah.
On a fundamental level, is bass fishing a sport?
You just opened up a can of worms for me. So I actually talked to my buddy Ben Nowak about this before, and we've done podcasts about this before. And I was actually talking to him about it on the way home from fishing today. It's a complicated question. And why it's complicated for me is because by definition, any recreation that has a competitive aspect is a sport. And it's hard for, I think, a lot of people, including myself, to compare bass fishing to, say, football. We all watch the national championship, Monday. and watch those guys, you know, or didn't, or whatever. If you watch football, soccer,
Right.
whatever you watch, UFC, I'm a big UFC fan. You know, we watch these guys that are super athletes, freaks of nature, you know, these exceptional human beings is what they are, you know, with exceptional, you know, abilities, exceptional stamina, exceptional athletic ability, go out here and play an exceptional game. And, you know, we all watched DeMar Hill get hit so hard that his heart literally stopped, you know, a couple weeks ago. And, you know, you look at those guys and then you look at like fishing. Man, listen, I work out and I take care of my body and I do a really good job of staying as healthy as I possibly can, but I am not DeMar Hill. I am not, you know, Dustin Poirier or Francis Ngannou or any, you know, sports star that you want to compare yourself to. And I don't think any professional fisherman is either. Aaron Martin's withstanding because that man would go run like 7 miles before a tournament and then go fishing. I mean, he was an athletic, you know, a machine. And so, you know, is it a sport? I would say yes by definition. But then I would say also there's so many aspects, and I think it's a lot of things that we're going to get into here in just a minute to kind of make it weird. You know, it's a weird one. Like is jockeying a sport? Is jockeying a horse a sport? I mean, those dudes
No.
are athletic. They have to, you know, they work out, they take care of their bodies, they have to maintain a certain weight. They are of exceptional size, but on the other spectrum, they're not giant football players. They're small, you know, smaller humans that can ride horses. Is NASCAR a sport? You know, Dale Earnhardt Jr. was on Rogan's podcast. He was talking about like they burn like 4,000 calories a race. And like these dudes are working out and doing CrossFit to stay in shape to drive a car. Same with like motocross or, you know, in like all these weird, all kind of obscure sports.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think the difference, though, there is in all of those things in the sport of fishing. And this is where kind of me and Ben left the conversation because his kid started screaming and he had to get off the phone.
Props to you, Ben, having them youngins. It's a lot
daddy.
of work.
He is a good dad. I'll tell you that much. And where we left the conversation was, well, I said, well, Ben, the difference between me and all of those guys is you put me on any of the professional bass fishing tours, I can keep up with those guys. Send me out there. Let me do it. Let me send it. Yeah, I may be tired. I may be physically tired. But at the end of the day, from a physical standpoint, I can keep up with any of those guys. Where if you put me in pads and put me out on the field with the Buffalo Bills, I'm literally going to be broken in half in about 2 seconds. So, yes, by definition, it's a sport. Is it a sport by the philosophical breakdown of what I think sport is and what I think athleticism is? Is it ever going to be in the Olympics? Yeah, probably not. But there's a whole other aspect of that I want to get into here in a minute. Yep. And it's weird, and it's something I discussed the other night, and I'm going to put it out there in the air so that we all know it's out there, and then we'll come back to it, which is, unlike every other organized sport, it was a game that had rules and was invented to be a game. Fishing was a means to survive, and we gamified it with a set of rules. And so that's the weird one about fishing, is like there's no professional hunting as far as like competitive hunting that I know about. I mean, I know there's competitions and things that they do, but from the ground standpoint of what there's no professional deer hunting league. And it's because that is a means to survive in, you know, years past and maybe to some people now. But we've gamified fishing into a sport or a recreation that has a set of rules, which is by definition a sport. So we'll put that out there and I'll let you boys go now.
Yeah, so I'll throw it out there real quick. So this is straight from, what do we got? Oxford Dictionary, right? A sport is an activity involving physical exertion and skill in which an individual or team competes against another or others for entertainment. So I personally don't really think of fishing, bass fishing specifically, as a sport. I think of it as exactly what you're saying. It was something that was turned into a game. Like I think of it on that level when you're talking about quote unquote competitive fishing. It's a game.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a sport.
Mm-hmm.
I understand, and I have strong feelings they're going to piss people off, but like NASCAR is not a sport to me. It's not. Like, I understand that they burn all those calories, but there's no physical exertion. The calories they're burning has to deal with the heat from being inside of that suit, that fireproof suit. That's where they're
I'm
burning
gonna
the
sign
calories.
off. I'm done with Bass and Brews because the Southerners are about. They're gonna be outside picking it outside your damn house in like
Listen,
24 hours, whenever the hell this thing drops. Holy
and listen, I'll
shit!
piss
I'm
off
outta
more
here.
people too.
You
I also
know
think
that-
that like
you know that
golf isn't
he-
really a sport. I think there needs to be a direct competition between two sides to be a sport.
I'm going
What
golf.
the fuck is-
I'm going golf's a sport. You ever seen Tiger Woods play golf? Dude, like professional golfers, like if you ever watch normal humans play golf and then watch professional golfers play golf like in person, dude, it's a whole nother level of I mean, like Tiger Woods is an example. Roy McIlroy as an example. I mean, Phil Mickelson as an example. Those dudes spent a life golf. I have to draw the line there because like those dudes spent their life honing the art of golf and then honing their physical body to then be better at golf. Like Tiger Woods works out specifically to help his golf muscles get better. And
Sure.
so I mean, I think that one is
No,
definitely
so here's why I say that, because there's no, for me, this is just me personally, and just me and all other sound thinking members of society. A sport has to have a direct there's a conflict between two sides. There's an offense and a defense in my eyes. There has to be a
Wouldn't you say
pitcher
that-
trying so a pitcher trying to strike out a batter, right?
wouldn't you
Hey.
say that Tiger Woods probably has more athletic exertion in a game of golf than maybe an outfielder does in the game of baseball, depending on like if he's in the left outfield and just stands there?
100%. But
And
that
isn't he-
outfielder,
isn't
but
he-
there's no way Phil Mickelson, what he's doing, can influence how Tiger shoots.
I think so. I think so, especially if he's doing well.
Yeah, but okay, so if he's doing well, but like there's no direct, like Phil Mickelson can't come up and fucking yeet the ball off the tee,
That would be pretty awesome, though.
right?
I get
right.
what you're saying. So you're
yeah.
saying there has to be it. So you want a
conflict.
transactional sort of. You want transaction between two people in a
Between
competitive.
two, either two solo competitors, right, or a
Uh-huh.
team of competitors, there has to be a conflict between the two. One actually trying to stop the other side from achieving the end goal.
Yeah. So
That's
you want,
how I see sport.
you want a transactional almost to the level of physical contact or physical. Like there has to be an almost physical component to it, like a physical transaction, whether it be like
Yeah.
the way somebody throws a ball or the
Yep.
way somebody hits somebody in a football game or the way that someone tries to take a soccer ball from somebody or the way that
Yep.
Francis Ngannou literally detaches people's heads from their bodies.
Right.
I get that. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
No, that's cool. No, I understand now kind of. So do you consider swimming a sport?
No. I consider that high octane working out.
So is CrossFit a sport?
No, God, no.
That's where he just left. He just left. So
I don't
mean, yeah,
consider, and then again, this is just me, but like, so even like track and field, I know I personally, in my standards, and listen, I'm also, as it's been said multiple times online this week, I'm the master of bad takes, but at least I'm the master of something. But in my eyes, a sport, exactly what you said, it has to be like a conflict, transaction, or transactional, what you said. There has to be something of that. So just because you can run fast, like your opponent can't. Listen, if you did sprints, but halfway through the sprint, you could take a baton and Nancy Harding your opponent, that's a sport.
I love that. That's interesting. No, I mean, I find that interesting. I think definitionally, we definitely sports. We view sport as different things. Like to me,
Yes.
CrossFit in my mind is the ultimate sport because it is literally, dude. I mean, no, it's like it's working out. I mean, it is like it's professional working out on a level that literally I mean, like a very few people can actually do.
So is bodybuilding a sport?
No, because that's not.
It's the
That's
same thing
not.
as CrossFit.
It's not.
Gymnastics.
No,
You
because
just said, oh, gymnastics. Is that a sport?
Gymnastics.
gymnastics is definitely a sport. I think any Olympic sport is a sport.
Ping pong?
Did
Well,
you see
it fits your definition of a sport is
Well,
transactional.
Ping
Well, then
pong.
ping pong's a sport.
No. Ping pong, I actually do think is a sport. Badminton, it's a sport because I'm competing not against the time. I'm competing against the actual person. I can influence whether they win, whether they are successful or not.
So NASCAR. Let's go back to NASCAR.
Yeah.
Let's not get too far into minutia here because we could go off on a tangent and a half.
Yeah.
NASCAR,
there.
then by your definition, is a sport because there's a transactional.
Sure.
Because I mean, like, have you ever seen somebody literally run somebody off a NASCAR
Yep.
track?
Yep.
They push people. So like transactionally, then NASCAR is a sport, and then by definition, horse racing would also be a sport because there's pushing and shoving and that. And I mean,
So
like
is
jockeys
fishing.
smack the piss out of each
So is
other with
fishing
the
then.
things.
Well, no,
So little
fishing.
Alex. No, hold
no,
on. Let
fishing-
me talk. Damn it! I've been sitting here quiet as fuck. Let me talk. Little Alex. People, there's a blast off, and people are trying to get to one spot to another before the other one. And then if somebody beats them there, the other person can go over there and cut them off.
Jason Lambert literally made somebody leave the lake the final day of a tournament, even though they were leading it because he beat him to his spot.
I don't think so. One, I mean, within the aspects, if we're talking about big glitter boats, right? Those guys have community holes. They rotate spots. So just because one hit one before the other one, I don't think that's a transactional at all. And then specifically with fishing, the wild side of it being in there, right? The wild side of just like what you said, Rudd. Like hunting's not a sport, but fishing is somehow. Like there's always a wild animal component.
That's transactional. You're now you're competing against the animal.
That's not a sport.
You are digging a hole. It's a very shallow hole, but you're going to be head deep in it for
Motherfucker.
too long.
Listen, you keep it up. You keep it up.
Now you've got me thinking of all the things that I now can what I think is sport and what I think are sports that you don't think are sports, like professional cycling. Sport or not a sport?
Okay, so if they're on, yes, so I do, and here's why. I will say that's a sport because of the way they draft. The only reason I don't think I know you're trying to center in on that because I said NASCAR is not one. NASCAR I don't think is one. I don't think motorsports are actual sports because you're dealing with an engine. You're dealing with engineering, which is like outside of the realm. I think there has to be a real human element to it. Just driving a car doesn't make you an athlete, doesn't make you a sportsman. It's you have a faster
there
engine.
are people who have the exceptional ability to drive things.
Sure. Yeah.
So
they're
like,
really good at their game.
Like have you ever ridden a dirt bike?
No, God, no.
Oh, dude, let me tell you something. That's something we used to do when we were kids. And in riding a dirt bike, like to go from the level of I'm just ride a dirt bike to the point of exhaustion, because we used to do it. Like we would ride 4 or 5 hours straight as hard as we could go and like literally be dripping with sweat, exhausted, because trying to hold on to that thing is like trying to hold on to a hell banshee. To go from just doing that in the backyard as kids and jumping like little 4-foot jumps to these dudes that do 100 laps around a dirt track and they're jumping 40 and 50 feet in the air and like they're having to retire when they're 25 because they literally physically beat their body up so much. I mean, like,
how about hiking? There's plenty of people that hike and they get sweaty. And they're putting their body to.
That's not the same as like to go on a brisk hike or even an intense hike. Like, you know, I can go on a hike and I can burn 500 calories and I may be a little tired by the end of it. To literally try to hold on to I don't know, like what am I trying, like a Yamaha 500. You put me on a Yamaha 500 dirt bike and you want me to hold on to that bitch for literally 20 minutes straight as I am trying to give it every bit of everything that it's got to beat everybody else. It transactionally, literally trying to beat them through the corners, trying to jump the jumps, trying to take the corners, dig them out of the holes, dig into the ruts, do all that kind of stuff. And then, I mean, like, to me, that is sports like, you know what I mean? And like, I don't know. I mean, it's an interesting concept, and I definitely get where you're coming from. That, like, if you attach a motor, the motor is what is doing the work, but the person on that machine is also doing the work as well. That's like saying that digging a ditch isn't a physical labor job, because you have a shovel that is your tool, but you're exerting effort onto the shovel to make it do the work, which
But
is
then in your right mind, what you're just saying, let's say lumberjacking, is that a sport?
it's not a sport, but it's still a physical activity that exerting an immense amount of energy, but it involves a certain level of skill. And I mean, there are competitive lumberjacking competitions if you've never seen those. Like, they literally saw up logs and shit. Have you ever seen that?
Yeah, 100.
It's crazy.
That's why I'm
Like,
mentioning it.
Like cornhole. Now we can talk about cornhole. To me, that's not a sport. That's a game. And I think, there we go. Let's focus in on that. What's the difference between a sport and just a game? Like Monopoly is a game. We play Monopoly and we have fun. Uno is a game. We play Uno, we have fun. Football is a game, but there's a transactional, like that physical transaction in between those. So is fishing as a tournament aspect a game? Because, like, I believe, like, you look at Jacob Wheeler, for example.
Jacoby. Yep.
Jacoby Wheeler. Yes. You look at Jacob Wheeler, that dude is a very, very, very good fisherman. One of the best to ever put a rod and reel in his hand.
Yep. Best 1 pound bass fisherman. You're right.
But I believe that he is also very, very good at playing the game of tournament fishing. Meaning that he has like a professional poker player, or like somebody where it's not, it's not this all out intense physical activity like a football game. Like a football game, yes, Josh Allen has a unique set of physical skills and skill based abilities to make him be able to, like, throw an absolute laser at 70 yards, and but where Jacob Wheeler, there doesn't have to be that physical component to it, but there's a whole nother skill and mental side to it as well, in a different way than football or something else, that makes it where he's really good at that. Kevin Van Dam is really good at that, especially back in the day. He was better in that mental space and in that skill-based set than anybody else out there, which made them really good at the game of tournament fishing. And so that's interesting to me. Like, I'm kind of trying to flesh the idea out as I'm talking about it, but I get what you're saying. Is it a sport? I'm going to say, I mean, it's physical. I burned, like, I had my Apple Watch on the other day. I burned 2,000 calories while I was fishing. Like, it's crazy or whatever. I don't know. And I am tired when I fish 5 days straight. You know what I mean? But I'm not like getting hit in the face by Dustin Poirier 200 times in a fight tired. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not bloody.
The bass doesn't have like a jig slinging right back at you.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know how many people got the fucking teeth knocked out with a jig flying right back at them because the fish bit and they set the hook and he wasn't hooked. Yeah. It happens.
But I think I get where you're saying that about the sports thing. It's an interesting concept. And I think where you go from here is, not, is it a sport or not? What do we consider it? Is it a game? Is it a recreation? Is it a gamified recreation? Is it like that? I want to get into that because that's where it gets weird. Okay, go ahead.
Every sport is a game, but not every game is a sport.
It's like all hornets are wasps, but not all wasps are hornets.
It's like some deep thoughts on Bass and Brews at this point. We're going to mark this down as the most intelligent thing Paul's ever said.
Cornhole is a sport, but it's a game.
I would say it's a game, but not a sport, but okay.
That's what I meant to say. That's what I said. Okay. That's what I said to myself, but what came the fuck out of my mouth was not that. But that's what I meant. Y'all go back to my previous statement.
Okay, so Paul, is fishing a sport?
Jeez, it's about fucking time. You know how hard it's been to sit here and listen to your...
I can't believe you've been so patient through all this, too.
I know. Look, the ADD has kicked in. I've crumpled up 18 pieces of paper. I've had to make a note. The box holding my feet up is now crunched down flat like it went through a compactor. But here I am getting to answer this question now, unabated. Yes, fishing is a sport. And I look at it from this aspect. We're talking about the professional side. That's where my mind goes, the professional side of fishing. That's what I look at it as. Yes, it's a sport. There's a huge mental game to it. There's a huge physical aspect to it.
Mm.
And it encompasses competition. You're competing. It is.
I agree on all points except for the physical aspect of it.
Mm-mm.
Because I think we
But-
can all look at professional fishing, BFL, opens, whatever the
Are those
level
even?
you wanna look
We're
at.
gonna cover that.
There is a
Does that
lot
even
of
count?
there is a lot
that
of
even count as pro?
middle-aged, fat white guys that
Right.
are standing
I-
on the front of their boats, leaning on their seats, watching their graphs. That I literally, if I said
Yep.
you have to walk up that set of steps, they would be out of breath.
I
And
will
so-
say, I think where Paul's going to go with this. So like kayak fishing, I think.
now that's a whole different ball game.
I
right?
actually think that kayak fishing would be more of a sport under your guys' definition than glitter boat fishing, right?
I
there's
would
more
agree.
physical
I would-
exertion.
Yes, I'll agree that kayak fishing, if we had to compare and stick with fishing, because this is Bass and Brews, not bass and sports bullshit talk. Kayak fishing is more of a sport.
Wait, we were gonna have
And-
Pat McAfee on next week, and now you've ruined it for us. Thanks a lot.
You know what, Paul? I don't know if you knew this or not. Rudd sent in an application, like I asked about on the last show. This is actually your send-off show. It's going to be me, Rudd, and McAfee talking about
Oh, well,
cornhole and
thank God.
badminton.
Bass and Brews will finally get over that 312 listener mark if you get me out of here and pull those two on. Look, I will unsubscribe and not listen to an every episode, but I will be
Hold
very
on.
proud of you.
For people that want to sponsor the show, because I'm trying to make money, we get a lot more than 312. Okay, let's make sure we're clear.
So,
Like
the-
312,000 is what they get.
woo, buddy! I tell you what. Anchor's
Listen, I'm gonna
fucking
mark
up
that
is
down. And
best
that's
of
going on
them.
TikTok. Is that Alex Rudd says that Bass and Brews gets 312,000 payers.
Fishing is a sport to me in the professional level because they're doing it at a different level for the whole encompassing side, the physical, the mental, the art, the craft that it takes to hone. And let's take golf for instance. If you've ever met somebody that played golf professionally, either in the semi-professionally or professionally, and I'm sorry to say semi-pro, Alex. I know that's a
Just
tough
remember
spot
that.
for you.
Okay? Just remember that.
The oh your boy on
Oh,
Bailey's
Paul.
podcast didn't know I was fucking around with you when I called you semi-pro. He
Yeah.
didn't know I was messing with you. But anyway, the take golf for instance, and people will talk about the Tiger Woods, the Phil Mickelsons, those folks, how when they hit a ball, they are playing by inches. When you have just your Saturday, Sunday warriors that are out there playing golf, they're playing by the feet or yards. When you go out there bass fishing, these folks that are professional touring bass anglers, their casting is within inches, centimeters, inches. They have honed that craft. Their mental game to the situation with weather, the fish, all that, it is on a different level than what the person that fishes 3 or 4 days a week every week and is sitting at their house. It's a different level because they're fishing the same bodies of water over and over and over. These guys are going to different lakes now. At this point in time, they're hitting the same lakes every year. But when you hone that craft like that, you could take it to football. I was a punter, a backup punter in college. People always said, "Oh, what about going pro?" I was like, "There ain't no way in hell to be a professional football player and kick and punt is the level of what you have to be is so much higher than anything you will ever see besides the people that are doing it. That goes for all that basketball.
See, and
Those
that's
folks are
where
a whole different level of
there's. I can promise you this. Promise you this. There are dudes who call themselves opens pros who you both could beat in a tournament.
All right, Rudd. I think you're very
You're kind of
knowledgeable.
stretching it there.
No, I'm telling you.
No,
I'm
no.
I'm
I'm
putting
going
it
to
out
tell you right now. I think you are giving my specific fishing skills. I'm way better filming, talking than
But
actually fishing.
but at the end
Uh,
of the day,
yeah.
you still have a base of knowledge
Mm-hmm.
that if I were to put you on a lake,
Yeah.
that if you were to go out there and I give you 5 days to go find fish, and I say you got to compete for 3 days, yeah, there is definitely a multi-day tournaments are a different ball game. Trust me, I
Mhm.
fished them. They suck. Like to conserve your fish and to have backups to your backups and to be able to go out there and play that mental game, it's a different ball game. But that being said, I can promise you that most of these guys out here that are fishing the opens and who are calling themselves pros and have stickers on their boats, if we're not talking about the Elite Series or the MLF or whatever they call the big guys now,
BPT.
the BPT, like
Mhm.
Edwin, like Edwin and KVD and those guys.
Yeah.
Unless you're talking about those dudes, most guys out there can be beaten and will be beaten. And most of what they do on that open series is a whole lot of luck mixed in with some skill. And
Yeah,
it's like
and
I'm
that's
not discounting anything that they're doing. And I think a lot of people when they hear me talk like I do about these things is they think, well, he hates professional fishing. No, 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 no. I am friends with professional fishermen. Bradley Hallman, Edwin Evers, Hunter Shyrock. I know these guys. I have
God,
their
the name drops. Come on.
I have their numbers in my phone, but all at the same time, I think that they would agree with me on this fact that sometimes it doesn't matter how good you are in the sport of professional bass fishing or in the high stakes, and we want to get in the high stakes gambling part of it as well. In the high stakes, act that is professional fishing, that sometimes it's just luck. And one great example that I go back to, and I always go back to this one, it's because I was at this weigh-in and I watched the defeat happen, was when Jacob Wheeler beat Kevin Van Dam at Bass Fest on Lake Chickamauga. And I watched KVD literally get the air taken out of him.
Mm-hmm.
And it was at that moment that I realized, I was like, Jacob Wheeler really isn't better than Kevin Van Dam. He just caught fish that were slightly bigger than Kevin's, even though they were doing essentially the same. I mean, they were both deep cranking. They were both throwing a hair jig. They were both doing offshore stuff essentially on the same exact area. I think they were within eyesight of each other. And Wheeler just got like those 4.5 pounders to eat, and KVD got 4 pounders to eat.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, I agree with you, Paul. I agree with you, but I think when you look at what you said as is a game of feet and inches, or to go from backup, kicker to professional kicker is an exceptional leap in skill. I would say that the leap in skill from being an avid angler to an opens pro to a touring pro is minimal at best. It's minimal at best, and it's also a money aspect. We'll get into here in a minute.
I agree on that, but that's why I want the conversation to center around the pro touring side, the best of the best, the ones that are up there. I think that's where the argument will hold the most water. But in any other sport, there's a luck involved too. Now they don't have to deal with a animal that they typically cannot see, or not always weather. But take basketball, for instance. You shoot a shot in basketball, it hits the rim and rolls around the rim twice and goes in. And then the next time you come down to the court, you shoot the ball, it hits the same place on the rim, rolls around 2 times, and rolls out.
Yeah, but
Same thing with
No,
football.
that's a
I mean,
physics.
no.
That's at some point in your delivery, something was off.
There's luck in all that. In football, you throw a ball down the field and it hits a guy in the back of the head, and it rolls off.
That's not luck. The guy didn't turn his head.
I just think that, Antonio Brown catching a one-handed catch off the tip of his fingers.
That's not luck.
I mean, okay.
No, that is not luck.
That's literally speed, some of the most amazing ability. Yeah. And I think the basketball shot, I get that. I do get that. But you have to think about all the thousands of hours of work and time that they put into shooting that shot repetitively over and over and over again. And I get it with fishing. There's
Same thing with fishing.
I mean, there's thousands of hours we put on the water, but here's the deal. The difference between those two things is I can flip a jig with perfection, with accuracy. I can skip it. I can throw it. I can drag it. I can have the best rod, reel, line, bait, trailer. I can have the best Fenwick Abu Garcia combo with my Trilene 100%
What a product dropped.
Let me tell you something.
Listen, Rudd's got the product drops and he's got the name drops. He's got it locked in.
My Berkeley power bait skirted jig with my Berkeley trigger crawl on the back. And I can flip it in on a log perfectly. And I can spook a fish.
Yeah.
Or that fish can turn around pissed off as a wet setting hen and suck that jig in, and I crack him. And I mean, like, it's the last tournament that I won in a boat. I won it.
Is that the one you got kicked out the local league in?
That's exactly what happened. Yeah, this was me. That's when I got called a semi-pro. I'm not going to deny that there was a skill aspect that it was involved in that.
Sure.
Because I set my buddy down and I looked at the clock and it was 1 o'clock. And I said, sit down, strap in. I'm going to where I know these fish are at. Mm-hmm. And I knew the fish should be there, but it came from thousands of hours of spending time on the water and knowing I know what to do instinctually, right? We ran to the spot. I threw up in there and I caught every single fish in my box. Okay. See, the thing is, though, I could have pulled up in there and it could have been all 2-pounders instead of 3-pounders. And there could have been nothing that I could have done about that. The skill aspect of getting me there was there. It's just, I don't know if there truly is a skill to catching bigger fish unless we're talking about like live scoping with glide baits, locking glide baits in our hands. Like maybe I suck. And maybe that's it. I mean, I suck at fishing. I'll be totally honest with you guys. I am in the grand scheme of bass angling, I am probably really terrible in comparison to some people. But all at the same time, I just don't believe that you go to a place and go, I guarantee you with 100% certainty, I'm going to catch nothing but 4-pounders here. Yeah, there's big fish areas, and there's people, I tell people, hey, you know, if we get a bite here, it's probably going to be a better than average one. Today was one of those days. I screwed my one chance up to catch a really big fish today because I knew today was one of those days I was going to catch those bigger than average fish. But all at the same time, I can't tell you whether it's going to be a better than average. I can't tell you if it's going to be a 4 or a 7. And I can't guarantee you that there's a 4 or a 7 sitting there. Like, it's just what's there. And what I know the areas that they should live in, presenting them with the bait the way that it should be presented to them and showing them the thing that should be shown to them in the way that I believe is to the best of my ability to present it to them to trick them into eating it. But I can't tell you if it's going to be a 4 or a 3-pounder until he bites it. You know what I mean?
No,
like,
yeah.
It's a weird concept around that whole idea of like luck being involved in. It's a whole aspect that I don't feel like any other sport or game or recreation really has. Like, name another one. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because like
poker.
Even in hunting, you can place game cameras out and you can watch these deer and these deer. And you got to get lucky and have him make a mistake and walk out in front of you. But dude, if you've seen him walk by the same tree every single day at 1:30 for 2 weeks straight, guess what he's probably going to do at 1:30 the next day? Walk by the tree.
Yep.
I don't have game cameras out in the water where I watch a 4-pounder swim by a tree every single day at 1:30. And at 1:30, I'm sitting there with my rod in my hand waiting to catch that 4-pounder. Like,
well, I mean, after Live Scope, that is actually the next $1 million idea. Alex Rudd is going to it's going to be game cameras, maritime game cameras. It's going to be a camera that you can just put out in your pond. You can watch where they're at, use your Live Scope. You don't really have to do anything. You can actually, with the process, Alex will come out and he'll just fish the spot for you, and then you can just hold the fish for the camera.
I love it.
Foolproof.
But it's weird, right? You know, it is a very weird concept in the sport or recreation or hobby or whatever you want to call it that we're in. And, I think we like to refer to it as a sport for the simple reason of we want it to be taken as seriously as anything else.
Sure.
So that's why I think it's referred to as a sport. And I mean, I want it to be taken seriously. You know what I mean? I want fishing to be taken seriously. I want to be what I do to have some weight to it. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, do I really care? No, whatever. But like, if you don't like it, I don't care. But all at the same time, I think in the grand scheme of what we do a weird thing because guys can play football and nobody's going to protest football. Guys can ride motorcycles, and unless they're just like weird green tree hugging hippies, no one's going to protest motorcycle riding or any of those things.
Yeah.
But we're in a very precarious situation where if we don't defend what we have, we can have a group of people take it away from us because they don't think we should be able to do it. And so I think that's where the term sport comes from. I think why there wants to be a professionalism aspect to this. I think that's why the industry wants there to be kind of a guard on what is considered professional and what isn't, because I think the industry also has that inkling that like this is one of those things just like hunting, that if we don't protect it a certain way and it doesn't have a sort of, I don't know, flavor to it, that maybe it can be taken away. And there's a whole nother mental aspect. I'm going to go down a rabbit hole here, and I don't want to go down it because it's a good one. Because then all at the same token, like professional fishing and the transporting of fish from one place to another and abusing them for hours on end and then letting them back into the water could also be the driving reason why they might ban it. You know what I mean?
Could be problematic. No, you're 100% true on that.
I'll say this real quick about the luck aspect of it. In every sport, there's a luck aspect, and some there's more than others. But if you look at fishing, there's a couple handful of people throughout the history of professional fishing that have been consistent, super consistent. Kevin Van Dam, Jacob Wheeler, Roland Martin, those guys like that. There's only a handful of those people that have performed at that consistent level. And I think they figured out how to put themselves in a position to have better luck. The skill put them in position to have better luck in that. And if you look at it though, a guy can win a tournament and then 2 weeks later finish 90th. Like that is hard. There's consistency in fishing. There's a lack of consistency in fishing that you don't see in other sports. And it's because you have to deal with the weather. You have to deal with other people on your playing field. You have to deal with an animal, a primordial animal that you can't control. And in fishing, without live scope, we can't see. So the skill aspect of it to me is that your skill level puts you in a position to know that these fish should be here at this time of day or because of this weather pattern or whatever it is. That puts you put yourself in a position of better luck. Live scope is I think it's going to tighten the field, and you're going to see people. You're not going to see the ranges of weights unless it's a spawning tournament. You're not going to see the ranges of weights. They're going to start to condense some.
I think
start to get closer. But the skill level of these folks that are consistent, the greatest anglers ever. Let's take KVD. I think we would all agree he's probably the greatest pro angler that have fished at this point. His consistency level was on a whole different parallel. Same thing with Tiger. Tiger transcended golf. Simone Biles transcended gymnastics with not only how consistent she was, but the feats of what she was doing.
Michael Jordan,
so
greatest to ever do it.
Michael Jordan.
I mean, probably any sport.
We can look at that. We can look at that. So these people are on a whole different level that they put themselves in a position that if luck was going to happen, they were going to receive it. Yeah. And that's the whole part. I don't want to get into luck. That's a whole different conversation. But your skill level gives you an advantage to win.
I think one thing that needs to be said as well for anybody listening to this is an understanding is like, this is not a disrespect or shade throwing, venture that we're getting into here. And that I respect Kevin Van Dam for his work ethic and his drive to be the best ever. like I respect Michael Jordan for it. You know what I mean? Like, I want people to understand that, like, you know, the reason Jason Christie won the Classic last year is because he was not going to take no for an answer. And, like, he was going to do it. No matter what it took, it was going to be done. Sure, was there some luck involved? Like, that last fish that he caught on the day of the Classic that he pulled over that cable. You know how easily that fish could have popped off? But it didn't. You know, it didn't. But the thing is like you said, Paul, he would have never put himself in that situation if it wasn't for a set of very, very honed skills and a very, very deep toolbox and understanding of bass behavior, fishing, and everything in the game. I mean, like, in understanding the game, like, Michael Jordan was not only physically the best, but he understood the game of basketball better than anybody else probably has ever understood it or ever will. And then he also had a mental aspect of it, like LeBron, or not LeBron James, but Kobe Bryant.
Kobe.
The story, I think you, Paul, we were on there when we were, maybe it was you or somebody, we were talking about Kobe when he was playing in the Olympics. They were playing Italy, and I forgot what his teammate's name was, but his teammate was playing on Italy's team, and he said, "I'm going to run through his chest."
Yeah.
And it was just a show of force. It was just a show of, I'm better than you. I will always be better than you, and there's nothing that you can do about that. And so the mental aspect of it is so there, Paul. You're so right. And I think that that's one thing that a lot of these guys have, because, like, man, even like you look at, let's say, you know, Tommy Biffle. You know, Tommy Biffle, you know, he's kind of that funny, you know, everybody thinks of Tommy Biffle like, yeah, from here to here, this is all mine. You know, leave me alone. You know? But all at the same time, man, he has to have a mental drive that makes him get up at his age and want to still go compete. You know what I mean? So I don't want to discount that at all. I don't want to discount the skill, the ability, or the mental aspect of it at all, because those dudes really, really are. I mean, man, being around Edwin, the time that I was around Edwin and just being around Edwin and having conversations with him, it made me really realize, like, this dude's doing what I do, just in a different world. In his mental space is what I want to strive to be and what I hope other people see in me, just in a different aspect of what we're doing here. You know, and that's for anybody. You know, my cousin used to be a pro football player, and he is in the same headspace as me, but it's just in a different world of what we've got going on. You know what I mean? And so I think that's so inspiring in the world of sport or the world of game or anything, you know, even dudes who play video games. Hey, man, you talk to some of those guys, it's weird, right? It's weird to us because we don't like it. But, like, there's dudes who, like, they get up in the morning.
Fully committed.
Yes. They're like, damn it, I'm going to be the best fucking COD shooter that ever shot COD. And it's like, or whatever they call themselves. But, dude, like, you've got to be, to win it and to do it, you've got to be in a different mental space.
I'm just
everybody else.
That is one. I know that me and Paul are the older people in this room, but to hear Rudd go, "I'm the best COD shooter in COD," makes you sound 80 years old.
Dude, I'm an old soul when it comes
I'll
to
say this. I'll say this, Alex. You just said what the biggest thing that I hear in fishing when they say, "If I had the time," not you, not short Alex, all Alex. You hear it all the time. If I had the time and the money, I could compete with those guys. And I say probably not, because I saw folks playing college football that were some of the most athletically gifted people I've ever seen in my entire life.
They were lazy.
They lacked. It wasn't even lazy. They lacked the mental aspect. They lacked. It wasn't the smarts. It was the mental aspect. It was that when everything clears, and there's no, and you're playing a game and there's no noise and you are zoned in. Like, there's a whole mental aspect to professional athletes and including professional anglers. And I say professional anglers are one of the greatest at it. There's a mental aspect that's what separates the successful pros from anybody else, is they have something upstairs in their ticker that clicks differently. And that is why there's only 0.5% of people in any sport or game that can compete at the professional level. It's because of the mental
so I think this is a great segue, and I don't want to take over the show, but this is a great segue into the gambling aspect and the money side of this thing.
Man, Fucking Rudd beats me. Rudd beats me at my own game on my own show. Like
maybe I need to fire. Maybe I need to fire Alex.
Yeah,
there you go.
Creation thing, boys. You got to keep up. Okay. And I have applause. Thank you very much. So
I don't know what this one is, but I want to play it. Y'all tell me what it is.
It's
motorcycle.
A car. It makes no sense, you dipshit.
Okay. The buttons aren't labeled.
Sounds like
I
me
can't
ripping
hear them.
sauce after Mexican. So anyway, so God, that was terrible. It's the end of it. It's so wet.
It's so wet. You definitely charted.
Moist.
Okay.
Very
so
moist.
when you look at, okay, let me back this up a little bit. I have felt
Back that ass up.
I backed that ass up.
Wait, hold on. He wants to back it up. He stole my segue, and now he's got to back it up. All right,
I'm not gonna back it up. So I have to admit here, and I think one thing that is very important here is that I'm speaking from a space of understanding when it comes to the fact that I have been in the mental headspace of investing money into the tournament aspect of fishing. Okay, maybe not $5,000 like some of these dudes, because I think that's stupid. I'm here to make money, not spend it on fishing. That's just my philosophy on it. That's a whole nother podcast for a whole nother day. But I have paid $250, $300, $350 to fish in a tournament before. I've paid $100 to bet on UFC fights. Let me tell you boys something. I don't care who you are. Unless you are literally mentally like you have an addiction to gambling, which I think there's a whole aspect of that we'll get into in a minute. When you put your money on the line for anything, it turns it up a notch, period. And so like sports betting on UFC fights, I've said this before. I'll be sitting here, yeah, punch him in the face. Yeah, whatever. When I put $100 on it, knock his head off, kill him, and it's just it's like you get so it ramps up the intensity to 1,000, and so I think that's why in tournament bass fishing we see guys not only make incredible, phenomenal choices, incredible, phenomenal like leaps of like, let's say, athletic ability or decision making, and like it seems like everything that they do falls into place. But we also see on the opposite side that the wheels completely fall off, and it's because the money and the investment of their money is what allows bass fishing and tournament bass fishing specifically to be ramped up to the level of getting in the ring with somebody and putting on gloves and fighting. For people, what I'm saying, I see you shaking your head, Alex, but just for people's, the mental part of the game, right? Because when they put $5,000 of their money on the line, that's when it goes from we're just fishing to we're tournament fishing. You know what I mean?
But like Kevin Durant's going to get paid no matter what, right? He is one of the best basketball players in a very long time. He is going to get paid no matter what. He doesn't go into a game against, last night? He played the Hornets, right? He doesn't go into that game and they go, hey, listen, if you score more points than the other forward, you're going to get paid. But if you don't, you're not going to get paid. He gets fucking paid because he's a professional athlete.
But that's what
when you add in the money, and I think where you're going to go with this is it's like a false thing. And this is almost why, like, all right, you really narrowed it down, because I know we had this conversation over text, right? So this is like a false way to make this seem like a sport, because we're adding in this tension because there's money involved, right? But like true athletes and true sports, they're getting paid to play that sport, right?
Yes.
Nobody, Aaron Rodgers just boxed his whole season, right? But he still got paid at the end of the game. The exact same amount.
I think it's what takes it from, there's not a physical aspect of fishing where you have to worry about literally being decapitated by Francis Ngannou.
Right.
You don't have to worry about him literally almost possibly.
I mean, maybe if Francis is on the fishing spot that you want, and then you mouth off.
Yes, and you mouth off. But outside of freak things happening, the hydraulics going out on your steering, and you have a boat wreck, falling into the water. I mean, these situations that are bad that don't happen very often, and they're exceptional events. Like, it's a guarantee when you walk into a UFC octagon. Guess what's going to happen? You're going to get punched in the face. You're going to get punched in the face. You're going to get kicked in the legs. This guy is trying to literally kill you. You're going to get choked. You're going to get hit. You're going to get everything that can happen. When you get in your bass boat, you might be a little chilly if you didn't bring enough clothes. Might get wet if you didn't bring a rain suit, and you might get sunburnt if you didn't bring sunscreen, except for maybe some exceptional events that happen throughout the day. Like
the anglers dropping dipping glow in the back of your boat all on the carpet.
Yeah, I mean, and like, let's say that's the worst thing that happens to you in a day. You still didn't get punched in the face by Dustin Poirier. So the money aspect is this, I guess, a false equivalency to the physical aspect. And if you go to basketball or football or whatever, those dudes are putting their bodies on the line. Dude, 100%. I mean, I'm sorry. You go up against LeBron James and you try to post up on LeBron James, he's putting your ass on the floor, and like, nothing you can do about it. Your head is going to bounce off that wood floor, and you're probably going to have a concussion because he is a 6'7", just 250-pound man. And so, like, I think when you add the money aspect to it, into putting the money on the line, is the false equivalency of the physical aspect that these other sports have.
Right, but it's false. Like you said, just because you bet money on it, right?
But
like poker,
we get into
poker. Is poker a sport?
There we go.
Or is that gambling?
No, but yeah. So there's where we're getting when you put in. But we're not talking about fucking fishing as a sport anymore. We're talking about the money side. That doesn't change the sport or not sport aspect of it. But when you take poker, for instance, you're putting your money up there saying, okay, I can play cards better than this guy. Same thing with fishing. When you're fishing for money, it is a gamble, because if you don't place, you don't get paid, and you lost all that money. And it's not just the money you paid in. It's the travel there, it's the fuel to practice, it's the lures, it's the line.
So it's just gambling with extra steps, is what you're saying. It's just gambling, but I'd like to wear.
It's gambling, but you have to have a lot of
and hang out outside.
So it's gambling, but you have to go ahead and invest. Let's say on the low end, $50,000, and on the high end, several $100,000, to just show up to then gamble more of your money to say that you're better than the other guy.
And that's like a local derby, right? So, I mean, we'll pull up some numbers here. Like, if we're talking, look at this. I did research, right? I was ready for this.
Well, let me say this too about the gambling side of it before you get into it, Alex, is and I think this is the topic we're going to cover, is we're talking about football, basketball, baseball, soccer, these professional sports people getting paid tens, hundreds of millions of dollars. There's a whole different revenue stream coming into those sports in which professional fishing doesn't have. So there's a whole different revenue stream of money coming into those sports that professional fishing will never achieve, because there's no fans, there's nobody buying concessions. And on Serious Angler, I had a fucking great idea, a couple of them actually, on how to capitalize on some of that.
They let you on that show.
But like we said, like I said over there, and like we said over there, I think that yes, that is true, but it's still I think what we're talking about now is now like when you start to look at this mentally for these guys who compete.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I lost a 6-pound spot today. He was giant. Biggest spot I've ever seen in my whole entire life. It sucked. It has sucked a hell of a lot worse if I'd have paid a $250 entry fee, and I probably would have freaked out a hell of a lot more. And I probably would have
broke the rod.
I mean, seriously, like I don't remember fish that I lose in tournaments, but I also know that when I do lose them in the moment, the intensity level's cranked up, and it's only because I've got money on the line.
Yep.
And like, I want to win that trophy, and I want to beat those guys. Like, it's my competitive nature to want to be better. And like that only I think happens like Bailey has a different. I would love to have Bailey on here because like Bailey, when he won his Hobie event, I was worried about the check. He was worried about the trophy. And see, I think it's he's worried about the money too, but dude, he's just so proud that he did the thing where I'm just like, I look at it as a business venture. Like I look at it as, like, can I gamble my money and am I good enough to beat these other 250 people who've signed up for this thing to try to win $10,000? Because if I can invest $250 up front to go fish my home body of water, Chickamauga is the one that the Hobie I fished. And let's say that I even drive 8 hours away from my house. Let's say that I'm in $600, $700 for the whole trip. I still have the possibility of winning $10,000. And so the intensity level for me of the whole entire competition, the game, the whatever we want to call it, the sport, gets ramped up for me at that point that wouldn't be ramped up if it was just a fun fishing trip. And I think that the gambling aspect, regardless of the money coming in, that's a whole different discussion. I mean, that's what that is. Yeah. The gambling aspect of it is what is ramping it up to the next level, and what makes it. I wish that they would double down on the gambling aspect of it in professional fishing, because I think it would make it even funner to watch. Like, because they want to talk about the payouts, like they want to talk about these payouts like they're prestigious. You know what I mean? Like, he won $100,000. Like, dude, there's professional football.
Solid one. Hold on, solid.
He netted 2,000 out of that 100.
Yes, and I won't say names, but I had a conversation with a professional angler who won 2 tournaments in 1 year, and he told me that at the end of the year, after he paid all his expenses, paid off all his credit cards, and did everything that he needed to do to get everything paid off, he had zero money left. He won $200,000 in a year and had zero money left at the end of the year. Yeah. And so
there's some business aspects to that too. That
there is. There is. But at the end of the day, a professional football, Josh Allen could wipe his ass with $100 and never even miss it.
I mean, we could legitimately go to Major League Baseball, right? Yeah. Which I think is the most
fully guaranteed.
They're the most athlete friendly league, and it's fully guaranteed. You sign, whether you get hurt or not, or you play or not, you are gonna get paid.
Yep.
Football's the shortest lifespan of all the professional sports, and it's
not at all, because you said it's because you said bass fishing's a pro sport, and I think Rudd just covered it. It's just professional gambling.
Well, and that's what I want to get into is like. That's the gambling aspect is if they would double down on the gambling aspect of it, I think it'd make a hell of a lot more entertaining. Mm-hmm. I mean, because UFC does it in the fact that, not only are these guys gambling their bodies. The dudes in the ring are fighting. So, I mean, for everybody else to then be gathered up in it as much as the dudes in the ring punching in the face are, what do they attach to it?
How much are they making? How much are they making on a fight? And not the top tier, huh?
No, the mid
depends on the fighter.
Millions,
mid card, yeah,
millions,
mid card, probably tens of thousands.
Yeah, tens of thousands. Like enough that they can live a comfortable life and train professionally as fighters and not have to worry about anything.
But they're getting paid regardless. But they're getting paid something regardless if they win or lose.
Yes, win or lose, and they actually have a win bonus, they have a loss bonus, they have money just to show. So like, okay, let's I forgot whose contract it was. I think it was Kamaru Usman when he lost his fight. He had like a guaranteed like $1.6 million just to show up.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Then he had another like $500,000 to make weight, and then he had like another $2 million to walk in and get in the ring. And then if he lost, he still would get like guaranteed all that money plus a little bit more. And then if he won, he would get like another $2 million plus pay-per-view points. I mean, so these dudes who are fighting at an elite level are making millions upon tens of millions of dollars.
Because people are watching, they're paying money to come to the stands and watch.
But what I was getting at, what I was getting at is, yes, there's that aspect of it, but another aspect of it that makes people even invested into it more is that gambling side of it. Like I have a account with FanDuel just to bet on fighting. Like I don't bet on anything else other than fighting.
Another name drop there. Let's just mark that on the list there, Tori.
I wish they sponsored me. They got the money, but like it invests me into the fight more because
Sure.
you know what I mean. And
well,
so
you got a skin in the game. You've got something, right?
Yes.
All right.
And
So
and to go
I don't think fishing could ever do that, though, right? Didn't we just have? Shoot, what was it last year? It was a young kid that was able to make his way to the Bassmaster Classic, correct?
I don't know. Who is it? I don't know. I don't know. I'll keep up with that.
I'll look it up. Yeah. So this kid ran the opens, right? Because I can't remember the age requirement to do the opens is pretty low.
Okay.
It's by low, I mean like I'm pretty sure it's just 18 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And this kid's gonna go to the Bassmaster Classic, right? Because he fished in however many opens, he gambled enough, but at 18, and I don't think they can go all in because so is high school fishing a gamble then?
Are they paying entry fees?
Yes.
Then it's a gamble.
It 100% it's a gamble.
Hey,
and they should treat it that way, but they can't because if it's a gamble, we're talking about 15, 16-year-old kids. I mean, they're under 18 years old. It's
You want a
not
hot
legal.
take? You want a hot take?
Rutt, hot take, and I got something. Go ahead.
Okay.
Oh,
Hot take. I believe that tournament bass fishing should be treated just like sports betting is, and that you should fill out a 1099 form, and you should have to any winnings that you make from tournament bass fishing, you didn't have to have tax paid upon it. Just like any money that I win from sports betting when I'm betting on the UFC has to be claimed on my taxes and then taxed. They taxed my shit when I won the last time that I won. I won a parlay. We won $500 and I had to tax it. It was ridiculous, but we had to tax it. And so I think that professional fishing, tournament fishing at every single conceptual level should be
gambling. It's gambling.
It is gambling that goes under the radar because nobody really understands it, that cares enough to understand it. And like I said I think it was on Serious Anglers podcast the other day when you were on there, it may have been a different time, that all it's going to take is somebody in the government to realize what tournament fishing is, and there's going to be a law passed to turn it into gambling and for it to be taxed. And it's just a matter of time, I think.
Well, they're still taxed. I mean, you still have to pay tax on the winnings. But what I think you're getting to, what I believe you're getting to is,
but I would say local tournaments you don't, because local tournaments are cash transactions.
Right. Well, they can never do anything about cash transactions. So as long as it's not, if it's cash to cash, that'll never happen. But anything over $600, you're supposed to get a W-2 form.
Well, and that'll back me up.
Yeah, but hey, we're not going to go.
Yeah, we're going to go down a rabbit hole. We'll get back to that.
That's a whole different one. Yeah. What I feel like you're saying is that we need to have sports books and betting on professional fishing like we do all the other sports, where you sit down and these are the odds that these people have to win the tournament. Horse racing, golf, they all have sports books. Turn professional fishing into the betting side of a true betting sport. Now, I don't bet. I don't know anything about sports books and shit. I know a high level amount just of being around it. But you have it where there are odds on people winning, and then you have the bets on big fish and what's the winning weight going to be, like the spreads, all that stuff. If you turned it into there, then now you're starting to get some more revenue in because people are going to be more in tune to watch. People are going to be more in tune to go to the website to check the scores. Am I reading it wrong, or are you talking about making fishing a betting sport like you would?
Well, I think I know I missed some of that because it was PP time, but so that would actually limit where they can go, right? So if they're in, let's say, Missouri, and gambling's not legal, but they do a tournament there where there's actual betting put onto that tournament.
But the betting would be done in Vegas in the sport books. It wouldn't be done.
No, what
I
was saying is I think that the sport of bass fishing professional tournament, the Elite Series and the BPT, because the rest of the crap is not professional.
Correct.
Right. And even that, I don't even think the highest levels. Yes. Let me say this. Here's another hot take, and then I'm going to get into my point. If you don't make your entire living from fishing, then you're not a professional. If you still have to cut grass and sell houses and whatever else you have to do on the side to keep your hustle alive, you're not a professional angler. You are, and you're not a professional tournament angler. You are a dude who loves, who has a passion for high stakes tournament angling.
There's a difference between professional touring angler and professional angler, because I would consider you a professional angling. You make your living off of fishing.
I don't. Oh, see, I would 100%. Yeah.
I don't at all consider myself a professional angler. But there's touring anglers who are still having to work normal jobs to keep themselves afloat. That has everything to do with the revenue stream within the fishing, and has nothing to do, I think, with their skill level, but everything to do with the fact that there's just not enough money in fishing. Anywho, no, what I was saying is I would love and I would even think have a little bit more investment. Probably not for me, but I know some people would definitely have more investment into tournament angling if, like, they got on there and Mark Zona said, well, if you boys didn't know, give me a professional name. Greg Hackney. Greg Hackney has paid for all 9 of his tournaments this year, and he paid a entry fee of $5,000 per tournament. So that means that he is in $45,000 this year in entry fees alone. That's not including his expenses. And so if he comes in first today, that means that he's going to win $100,000. And so he's going to be able to cover all his tournament entry fees and then make money. Like, I would love to see that aspect of it, because the FLW used to do it a little bit where they'd be like, he's going to win $300,000. So it's like, okay, well, how much money has he spent? Because like, that's the part of it to me that I think would be the coolest thing to be privy to. But they would never do that, because then it would show
that it's gambling. That it's
no, it would show that they ain't making shit. Again, it would show that it would show that 5% of the people are actually making money at the end.
Like I mentioned the high schooler thing, right? Like, they're like, now Bass is pushing into like high school and college fishing, right? That have tournament fees. At no point in time does MLB go, hey, this is a really good shortstop we got coming up through the league here. He's going to go to minor leagues. He's going to pay $50,000 to go play, that hopefully can get on an MLB team. Unfortunately, with pro bass fishing, they're saying like, hey, if you want to do it, do our developmental system, which is the new, the Bass Open EQ, right? Elite qualifiers.
All I'm hearing right now is, this is how we make money, so pay into our system so we can continue to make money.
Correct. Yes.
Right. And that's the sucky part. That is why, to me, and I don't think I've ever said this, and I may have or I may not have. That's why, to me, tournament fishing is stupid. Because why in the world would I pay to have a membership to Bass, to then pay a tournament entry fee to fish a tournament, to then pay another tournament entry fee to fish in another turn? Like, why is not just paying the entry fee enough? That's why I like Hobie, the BOS, the Hobie BOS, is because there's no membership fee. There's no anything. And like, membership benefits for being in the Bass or being in FLW or whatever, it's yeah. Like, it's not like you're receiving anything. Whereas like my local kayak club, like, I pay my dues so that I can be a part of, because I'm gambling. Because I'm gambling my $35 for my dues into the fact that I want that little AOI. And like, it's fun to me. It's this small level, it's $35. It's not $3,500. If it was $3,500, if they come to me and they said, Alex, next year, to make the stakes better, It's going to be $3,500 for our member dues, and each tournament is going to be $4,000 in entry fees. I would say kiss my ass. I'm into making money, not spending it. I'll see
Fuck
you
this
guys
kayak.
in hell. Like, I mean, like,
Fuck
it's
this
just,
kayak. I'm gonna drive the boat and hit every single one of you dudes down the
Yeah.
river.
yeah. I mean, it's just like
All
it's,
two of y'all that are fishing that tournament, I'm just doing
So-
donuts around y'all.
and so like that's to me like I don't like I think it's just a whole different mental
It's
space. It's a whole
crazy.
different world that these dudes like you really you have to have as much passion about tournament fishing as I do about what I do to be able to gamble as much as you're going to gamble in professional fishing. And here's the deal. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying I think it's stupid. But I do not discount anything that any professional angler has ever done to get into the position that they're in because that's what they love. That's what they want to do. And you want to know what I want from them in that aspect? Every single thing that they could ever imagine. Like, I want Brandon Polinick to win the Angler of the Year every damn year. I want him to win every tournament. I want him to win the Classic because guess what? That's his dream. And I want him to be able to fulfill his dream. It's just the way that he has done it and the money that he spent to get there. Like, it's crazy to me.
It's fucking nuts.
It's to me. But guess what? There's some dude who watches me drive down the road with my bass boat and thinks the same exact thing about me. Like, look at that dumb. I can't believe he spent all that money on that stupid boat with that big old motor on the back to go catch a fish. Honey, load up the wakeboard boat that I spent $90,000 on, but I have a ton of passion for because that's what we like to do on the weekends. Like, this guy likes to go bass fishing on the weekends, but he's just in a different world than I am and lives a different life than I do. And he's still spending the same amount of money that we spend, probably less because our boat takes more gas. But anyway, you know, that's the deal. You know what I mean? Like, so, you know, we're kind of beating a dead horse here. And this is a fun topic. This is a fun topic. And that's more of anything than what this conversation was. It's just a fun, debatable topic. But at the end of the day, man, it's just like, it's craziness, like truly craziness. And it's almost kind of sad that these dudes, these high school kids and these college kids, and then these guys that go into the opens have been set up the way that they've been, Paul, I promise, have been set up.
No, I'm just making sure fucking short Alex doesn't fuck me over and jump in front, start raising my hand.
That they've set up these kids to think BASS specifically with their dream. You know, it's big fish, big stage, live the dream. You can do this. You can be this. You can
marketing machine.
You can be, as long as you pay your BASS dues, you're going to have everything you've ever wanted. No, you will get a hat, a sticker, and a little card that says that you're part of the BASS, but you still have to pay the entry fees for the open. You still have to pay your gas. You still have to pay your travel. You still have to pay your expenses. And at the end of the day, it's crazy. And so, like, I mean, like, let's just look. I mean, I want to just look at let's not even look at the bass boat side of things. Let's just look at the Hobie Open. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So let's say that I pay for all 10 of those. Okay. I'm in $2,500 just in entry fees on those. That's in a plastic boat that doesn't take any gas. Okay, let's say that it's going to take another, what would you say, Paul? $3,000 in gas to drive, $4,000 in gas to drive to all those places.
I would say on the safe side, $5,000 in fuel.
Okay, so $5,000
travel to. Yeah.
Okay, well, let's just say $5,000 in gas and travel, and let's be conservative there because I do think that's a conservative number. Yeah. So $2,500.
That's travel. That's everything. That's food, everything. Meals, $5,000, everything.
Everything. And that's being very conservative. So then I'm in $7,500 on the year just to gamble on the fact that I might be able to win some money. And so I have to make $7,500 in tournament winnings just to make my money back.
One win.
But it is one win. But you're competing against 250 dudes. Most of them probably on their home lake. And dudettes. And like, hey, you still got to beat Christine. You still got to beat Bailey. I mean, dude, I'm sorry. Like, Bailey's hard to beat. I've fished against him. I've fished with him. The dude is hard to beat. You know,
You
and
know
so,
where you can beat him at though, is picking out sandwich proteins because he
Yeah, 'cause
fucking
he
sucks
sucks.
at that.
but like, so that's $7,500 just for the plastic boat. So you need to take that $7,500 and honest to God, probably times it by 4
Yeah,
or 5.
Yeah.
You then start hitting the numbers where you're talking about opens, where you're talking about
Mhm.
PFLs, where you're talking
Mhm.
about, trying to then make it to the professional side of things.
How
And
much
then
is the winning pot in a open? How much is the number one? Do
I think it's
we
a
know?
bass boat. It's not even money.
bass boat. No, it's money. So the opens, well,
It's money.
even how they changed it. All right, so how
Is
they
this your
changed.
stats that you had that I rudely interrupted you at? And y'all got to come back to me because I got something to say about what
Yep.
Alex talked
So
about a few minutes ago.
just the
Go ahead,
stats
little Alex.
wise. So the opens are going to run exactly like they did last year, right? So we're looking at the same 9 events. It's 3 divisions, 3 events per division. But the main difference is was it the open circuit? So we're looking at 1,800 per event for the opens.
How
But
many are there? 9, right?
so
Like
now
20,000.
how it used to
20,000.
be was that you could fish 3. You could fish 3 events. And if you were able to win your division, you could realistically move up into the Elite Series at that point. Because the Elite Series, you still have to pay entry fees. But now they've changed that. That eligibility is gone. Now, to be eligible to do the Open Series to get that invite to the Elite Series, you now have to fish all 9 in all divisions. So you're fishing 9 events at $1,800 a pop, which is an insane amount. And I looked at the press release a couple hours ago, actually, and they literally their justification was, well, we had a lot of anglers that were going broke trying to go for the dream. I'm dead serious. On Bassmaster.com, the press release literally said we had people getting themselves into financial trouble trying to chase the dream. But this new way is so they realistically know what it's going to be like to get to the elites. So they're admitting that it's pay to play and you got to pay a fucking lot. And people like, I'd like to have Paul. We should almost like at some point bring this up because I'm sure Pangrak's going to do this. They specifically named him in the press release. So I'd like to hear what his thoughts on this are. But and I'd like to be on the show when he's actually on the show. But like I feel like they're doubling down on they're like, yeah, fuck it. It's expensive to do this. That's what you got to do though to get greatness. And again,
Yeah.
I'm
So
gonna
it's a
rewind
pay
it
to
all the way
play
back.
sport. It goes
Yeah.
what the Rudd said. It's a pay to play sport, and this kind of goes
Stupid.
back to one thing, a point that I wanted to make earlier when I raised my hand.
Hold on,
Is
real quick
that
before we get to that. I want to talk about how this is the end of the show. No, I'm just joking, Paul. Go ahead.
you better fucking not. I swear I will drive up to New Jersey tonight, and I will stomp your short ass if you do that shit. Look, this. So we keep going to the NFL and NBA and Major League because those are our big sports here. Those sports, the way those guys got paid didn't always used to be like that. And matter of fact, up until like the late 80s and 90s, the NFL wasn't paid like that. Where they began to so the owners, the league and the owners were the recipients of the majority of money. So they started creating the players unions, the players associations, and that gave the players the power. There was an NFL strike, and I think in the mid '80s or late '80s, and what those players associations did was it gave them the opportunity to say, "Hey, we ain't playing, and if we ain't on the field on Sunday, your ass ain't getting paid. There's no TV revenue. There's no, you know, ticket revenue. None of that shit's there." The professional fishing anglers have tried to come together and create association a time or two, but it hasn't happened because bass, for instance, can look at them and go, well, shit, hell, if y'all 80 people don't want to fish, we got 80 sitting right back here behind us that are going to pay the same exact entry fees and are going to pay, and we're going to get the same number of people viewing and watching. The anglers don't have the power to change the sport like they've had to do, and I'll take football because that's the one that I know the most amount, but still ain't enough. But those players
You're a
associations,
punter. You're right, the least.
when they were able to come together, like, all right, so you take those sports, if those folks don't get out there, they can't just go pick up some other fucking players to come out there and produce an NFL football game. But you can go out there, and if 25 professional anglers saying ain't fishing with shit, there's 25 people lined up behind them that'll pay to come out there. They'll pay that entry fee to come. And Bass is like, yeah, oh well, look, it happened with MLF. When that split happened, Bass was like, okay, fine, it don't matter. A bunch of young guys,
Right, they picked up brand new ones.
So what it comes down to, and this is backing up a little bit, but what it comes down to the point that Rub was making was the anglers don't have the power to change any of what we're talking about. They can't, because there's people lined up that can do what they do to satisfy what the professional leagues need on their end. Whereas the NFL, if they went on strike next year, before the opening game, there ain't no fucking NFL games. And don't nobody want to go watch a bunch of XFL players or college.
I saw that movie.
No,
I saw that movie, The Replacements. That was a good movie.
Hey, good fun side note. The quarterback that was the stunt double for Keanu Reeves graduated from my high school, Chris Robbins, and he was a walk-on at Clemson University and has been a stunt double for The Rock, Keanu Reeves, and he's done a bunch of shit. But he was the stunt double for Keanu Reeves in The Replacements. Chris Robbins, McBee, South Carolina, Korea.
That is a fun fact. But did he play a real position or was he a second string punter?
In high school, he was a 175-pound tackle.
Okay.
And walked on to Clemson as a wide receiver.
Oh, well, that makes more sense.
and then went on, but we don't. This is a fishing podcast. We don't have time to go into my high school dynamics.
But I think Paul, what you just certified was Alex's point, my point, and your own point. And I think we're still going to disagree to agree on semantics. But what you just said, Paul, is professional bass fishing is not a sport because it doesn't take any exceptional ability to be able to do it, just the money to get there.
I disagree.
Like what you just said. But listen to what I'm saying. I know you disagree, and I said we were going to disagree to agree to all disagree. But what I just heard is that you said that at any one point, everybody could walk away from bass, and there's going to be 80, 150 more dudes that can step in and take their place. And nobody may know who they are, but guess what? They can still step in. They can still take their place.
That satisfies. I say that from the standpoint that it satisfies, and I'm just saying bass because they're the easiest one to say. Bass, because they're getting their cut. But the product that's being put out on TV, it ain't going to be the same.
It'll be the same. No. People said that.
You're not
people
gonna,
said
you're
that
not
when they
going to. No,
hold on.
You're not.
People said that when they lost all the big
have
names to BBT or BPT, right? And then they built new stars in bass.
Well, that's Bass's job. That's Bass's job.
Right.
Bass's job is like the WWE and Vince McMahon.
Yeah.
Vince McMahon made the WWE because he built characters.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, but Bass builds characters to the point that it's almost overbearing sometimes. And it's not to take anything away from the people who are the people that actually make up the personalities. But like Carl Jocumsen is a great example of somebody who actually did go through an immense amount of struggle to get where he's at, but they have beat that dead horse so to death that I'm tired of hearing about it. And it's like, and it's unfortunate.
And then they won't pump up Matt Robertson, who could be one of the greatest bass angling in revenue generating people ever because he relates to motherfucking real people. And they want
to. I think.
Rudd, I think you nailed it there. Actually, with
bass fishing, bass fishing
with putting the personalities on it. Yeah,
professional wrestling. Bass fishing is wrestling. It's not golf. It's not NASCAR. It's not poker. Bass fishing is wrestling. It's an entertainment.
But even poker though had that time, and I can't remember the guys exactly, but they had that time where you had those personalities. You had the little
Helmuth,
Asian,
yeah,
you had the little
Bill
Asian guy,
Hellmuth.
and then,
Yep.
I mean,
Yes,
Dan
early
Bilzerian.
2000s.
Like you had
Hell
these,
yeah.
you had the
Yeah.
playboy, you had the badass, you had the.
Listen, I got non-judicial punishment in the military, which is we call it getting masted. It's when you get in big trouble, because I watched a bunch of that World Poker Tour bullshit and decided to gamble on a Coast Guard network during a live SAR watch.
Oh,
to-
jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
the only thing that saved me is I actually said, yeah, I was honest about it, I didn't lie. But also they looked through and they're like, motherfucker, you lost more money than you won. Like, we're not going to get you in trouble because you suck at it.
because
But
you-
I saw those guys get built up of like, oh, this is grassroots guy coming from his hometown to make the big,
yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's
And I
the
mean,
personalities. They
and,
build it off the
and that's
personalities.
because that's what it has to have, because there
Mm.
are no exceptional athletic abilities.
Well,
I'm sorry, but it
it's
is.
fucking boring.
It is.
Fishing is boring.
It's
I've
boring.
said this a
Yeah.
million times. Fishing, I'm not watching 8 hours of a fucking tournament. One, I'm not doing it. Now, while I
Yeah.
turn it on when I'm riding down the road, I might watch if they're at Santee or Murray or, Sharon Harris or Jordan. Yeah, I'll probably watch as much as I can of those, but I don't give a fuck when they go to Lake Champlain and they're catching 30-pound bags of smallmouth. Yay, fun. I mean, that's cool. Yeah, that's awesome. But I'm not going to sit there and
literally,
watch a
That's
second of it.
literally what I was about to say is they have to have personalities, because there's no exceptional athletic ability, and it's way too boring.
Boring.
And it's just, it's like, that's why I say, if they're gonna have to bring into a gambling aspect, a personality aspect, some other thing to make it worth my time, because that's why me as a kid, I didn't care about, and I still don't care about professional fishing, is because it's boring to me. Like it is. I say this all the time, and I've said this before on podcasts. Like, people are like, so is it KVD or Gerald Swindle? Who's your role model in fishing? I'm like, none of those people. I was like, Steve Irwin was my role model when I was a kid. Like, I wanted to be like Steve Irwin. I wanted to go and adventure and catch things and dig through creeks and go adventure up into the mountains and look for little critters and things like that. And all bass fishing did was itch that exploration itch and that like catching itch, that interaction with nature itch that I love so much. And so that's why I love it as much as I do. But like, professional fishing never did it for me, because like, my dad would turn it on TV on Sunday mornings, and it's like, is he going to catch one? When's he going to catch one? Oh, is he going to catch one?
Yes.
Dad, is he going to catch one? And then he'd set the hook. Oh, he missed it. All right, Dad. Well, I'm gonna go watch Pokemon and dig in my ass. I'll talk to you later. 10 years old. 10 years old. Like just never captured me that way. You know what I mean? And it's like, the only time that I felt captured into the whole experience is when I went to a weigh-in. And then I went to a weigh-in. Even then, like, when we went to the weigh-in, they played a music video, and then someone come out and talked, and then they handed out T-shirts, and then they did, and it was drawn out, and it was too long, and it was like a great example. Jason Christie won the Classic last year. I did not watch a single minute of the live coverage for fishing. I turned on the weigh-in when I left Greenville, South Carolina. Jason Christie weighed his fish in and won the Bassmaster Classic when I pulled into my driveway in Knoxville, Tennessee. That's how long.
Spartanburg, South Carolina.
That's how
forever.
That's how long the weigh-in took. Okay, I sat down and watched the national championship the other night with my friends. We ate hamburgers. We laughed. We jockeyed around. We played with their little girl. We just like,
hold on, you jockeyed around? What does that mean? Like,
I don't know.
You guys run small horses?
Hey, Rudd, so let me ask you this, Rudd. Tennis. Well, let's not use tennis. Let me ask you this, Rudd.
I'm sorry.
Golf is a boring ass sport. Golf and fishing are just as boring.
I said the other day,
there are people that will sit down and watch every fucking second of a golf.
I said the other day,
why? Why?
There was an ad for the Masters. And I said, I was laying on the couch and I said this to my wife, Bethany. I said, "Ooh, the Masters." She goes, "What the fuck?" I said, "There's nothing like a nap, like the Masters nap." And I was like, that was my exact thing. Because like there is nothing better than when the Masters comes on. It's a beautiful spring day outside, bluebirds, you've got all the windows open. There's like a little cool breeze blowing in, and you went and cracked 20 pounds on a jig that morning because they're spawning on spawning. And then you come back and you lay down on the couch and you just lay there while the Masters plays in the background.
Answer my question. Why will people watch every second of a boring ass golf tournament?
They don't.
And not.
They don't. He just answered it. No,
but they do. There are people. It shows it in their TV revenue
because Paul,
millions watch.
Because number one, they inflate those numbers, and a lot of that is lies. Number two, there are people, you got to realize how obsessive some people are over things. So we're three grown ass individuals who don't invest a lot into professional fishing. Guys, you got to go to a Bassmaster Classic and see how some other grown men oogle and awe and fanboy over some of these guys who have stickers on their shirts. And, rightfully so. I mean, if you see Gerald Swindle, he's a cool dude. And but for me, it doesn't do there's only like a few key people in the world that I would like fanboy over. Dave Grohl is one of them. You know what I mean? Like, and so it's like, if I saw that, or if I saw, Michael Jordan, I mean, but there are people, man, that and I'm surrounded by them here. I'm surrounded by the tournament culture. And I would implore you guys to come to the Classic in Knoxville. Paul, you've been to a Classic, so you've seen it, but especially the Classic in Knoxville. Good. The Classic in Knoxville will bring out every single one of the bullet driving rednecks who fish every single tournament that they can pay money to get into. And they're over in there. I mean, dude, did you see Roland Martin standing over there at the bass tank, man? I got hit my picture with him and shook his hand, and he said I smell good. And it's just it's like, oh.
Hold on. I got one for that. Hold on. I think this is it. Tell me what this is.
That's chickens and lambs.
Yes, yeah, chickens and lambs.
Yes.
But that being said, Paul, I think that it's a very, 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 very small group of people who actually will sit down and watch all of the Masters, or all of
But it's significantly more than people who will sit down and watch bass fishing.
Yes, and that is simply due to the fact that bass fishing is a niche. Tournament bass fishing is a niche inside of a niche.
Within a
niche. Professional bass fishing is a niche inside of a niche inside of a niche. High-level tournament bass fishing coverage is a niche inside of a niche inside of a niche inside of a niche. The guy who will sit down and watch 8 hours straight of coverage for Bassmaster professional tournament fishing is a niche inside of a niche inside of a niche inside of a niche. And so, but whereas golf, guys I went to high school with, there's whole groups of guys who I went to high school with that play golf every single weekend. And they fish recreationally. They're like, "Oh man, you get to fish for a living. That's cool. You want to take me fishing sometime?" And they get their ugly stick out that they get out once every 6 months and they go fishing. And so what we have to realize is that we, as a group of guys sitting here, and a lot of the people that we associate with, and a lot of the people that I associate myself with, are hyper fixated on bass fishing and hyper fixated on fishing as a whole, where we sit and we have podcasts about it. And the people who listen to these podcasts 2 hours in, hour and 53 minutes in, they love what we do here, which is bass fishing. And they may also love the tournament aspect of it, of tournament bass fishing. And we are a very, very small group of people relative to the amount of people who play golf. That's a reason that there's 14 golf courses in Knoxville, and every single weekend they're booked completely out, as packed as you can get them. And yeah, you could say, well, all the boat ramps are too, but I can promise you, if we lined all the golfers up,
there's way more, and they're making way more.
So what you're saying is, So what you're saying is the accessibility for someone to go out and play golf is higher than the accessibility for someone to be able to go out on a boat. Let's throw bank anglers out. The accessibility for somebody to go out on a boat and fish like a professional angler is way less than the accessibility of someone to go out and play golf.
Not only is it the accessibility, it's the appeal, it's the prestige, it's
The money,
it's
$300 in golf clubs and $20 in balls, and you can go play golf Saturday, Sunday, every day, or every damn week out of the year. And bass fishing to do that is going to cost you fucking $300,000 if you buy a bass boat.
Yeah.
And here's the deal: is I live in a part of the country where it is literally the hub of bass fishing and tournament bass fishing. You got a paycheck, you got a pulse. Everybody's got a boat around here. So I live in an exceptional place for bass fishing. But if I go to the middle of Georgia, where there may not be as many lakes, where there may not be as much accessibility to water, but there are really nice golf courses in the middle of flat Georgia. They're everywhere.
Yep.
Those dudes, I mean, Augusta, you know, I mean, you're not going to play Augusta, but still, you got Augusta, you know, there you go. And like,
you can look at it through the fence.
Yeah. And another thing too is like, you know, if I live in those places, well, then like, you know, the things that I can do are things that are, you know, you do what your friends do and you do what you surround yourself with what other people do. And so like if there's just a lot more chance that your buddy's into golf than he is into fishing, because people view
less boring to play than it is to go fish. You go fish 8 hours a day, not get a fucking bite, and your friend that wanted to go fishing because you were semi-pro and see all your YouTube videos and you take them out there and you don't even get a bite for 8 hours. They're like, fuck this shit. I ain't never going fishing again. But they can go out there and every hole they're going to get to hit a ball.
And here's what it comes back to.
Times.
Here we're about to circle this bitch all the way back. All right.
Hey, I know what I'm doing. Little Alex has empowered me to know what I'm doing. So you circle us around.
What I said at the beginning was that fishing was something that we turned into a game.
Yep.
It was a way to provide food for your family. You know, 10,000 years ago, we fished to survive, and then we turned it into a game. Golf was specifically designed to be a game to be played. And so people, I would say a mass majority of people don't realize that there's a gamified option to fishing. They still view fishing as an outdoor recreation and a way to get outdoors and to interact with nature and to catch food and to eat it. Every single person that I worked with at both schools all three schools that I worked at when I was still a teacher, when I told them that I was quitting my job to become a fisherman, they asked, so do you eat them? And that's because that's every single person.
Every time.
So I was in a building.
I'll let them go.
I was in a building with, you know, what do we have? 35, 40 employees. I was the only person in that building that understood what tournament bass fishing was.
Yeah.
Everybody else's view of fishing was, this is a thing that you go do to catch them and to eat them. Or you go do it once you only do it in May, June, and July when we got the float boat out and the kids want to catch some bluegills. And so the thing with golf is recognized as, like, you line 100 people up and you say, do you know Tiger Woods? I can almost guarantee that 98 of those people are going to go, I know exactly who Tiger Woods is, if not all 100 of them. If I line 100 people up,
can't know who KBD is. Maybe 10. Less than 10.
I line 10, I line 100 up and I say, do you know who Kevin Van Dam is? I might have one.
Yeah, I would say one.
I live in an exceptional place here, again, where, you know, but for the most part, like I told the ladies that I worked with and my principal when I still worked at the school, I'm going to fish with Jimmy Houston because I was still an educator at that time. They had no idea who that was. Yeah. And the only person that they know, the only personality that they know in fishing is Bill Dance. And the only recognizable thing that they can attach themselves to with Bill Dance is he's that guy who made those blooper reels where he runs into the hornet's
Yeah,
nest
in the
Right.
Tennessee hat.
in the Tennessee hat. That's the only, they don't connect him to the fact that he is a legendary tournament angler who had a massive amount of success helping to literally start the game of professional bass fishing.
And
And
Roland
so-
Martin is the most dominant bass angler to have ever fished. Not the
and so-
winningest, but the most dominant.
But you want to know something? There's 300 million Americans. Okay. 300 million Americans. There might be a million people who care enough about tournament bass fishing. Might be 100 who care enough about tournament bass fishing to know who Roland Martin is.
Yeah.
And I would say the number is
The-
actually less than that. I would say
the
that it's maybe 750,000.
The
fucking
apex of
exact.
fishing, the apex of fishing happened in the early to mid 90s. That was the apex of fishing. That
And
was
what
when
they-
you
but
had
then they
a
see
growth.
themselves-
That's when you had
For
a growth,
professional
a
fishing.
true
Yeah.
growth. No, of fishing in general. Look, professional, a growth in the sport. If you listen to any Ken Wood stuff on, or excuse me, Ken Duke stuff when he's on Bass Talk Live, he talks about there hasn't been a growth in fishing since I think it's the late 90s is when there was a growth in fishing. And the only way they can track that is through licenses. The mecca of fishing was in that, let's just say the 90s. And that's when what happened in the 90s, ESPN took fishing for 3 or 4 years or however long it was. Fishing is not, people talk about growing the sport. Oh my God, there's too many people. What we're seeing is, and I can't remember who on TikTok or Instagram I commented on their post. They talk about growing the sport of fishing. It's like the sport of fishing ain't growing. What's growing right now is kayak fishing, and that is a niche within the boater fishing side. Kayak fishing is taking people off of the bank because they can go buy a $200 Sun Dolphin. And now instead of fishing on the bank, they're putting that in and they're fishing on the water. They're a boat on the water. What's growing in fishing right now is the amount of people who are actually on the water fishing. The sport ain't growing, but the amount of people coming off the bank onto the water, the amount of floating devices on the water is growing, which makes it seem like the sport's growing because there's a lot more people fishing the shit that you never had to fight people fishing, which is mostly the bank, right? So it's that it comes down to me that our sport, the sport isn't growing. And we could take out the COVID stuff because that's the only thing people had to do for 2 years.
Okay, so here, I'm going to throw a little statistic on you here. I just typed in how many tournament bass fishermen are there. BASS is a tournament and membership organization serving 515,000 members.
Okay, 500,000.
Okay. I would say my number's about right. Like, I would say
Yeah.
my number's close. Like, and I think this is a whole another conversation for another time. But
Another time.
Shit, this Bass and Brews, we go 3-4 hours.
No, we're getting there. We're getting to closing ceremonies there, Paul.
I'm a little tired, to be honest with you.
I'm with you too.
We beat the dead horse to death. This was a great
This-
conversation.
We
and
have
it-
buried that bitch and
Yeah.
cut it in half, and we even ate part of it. I'm
Yeah.
pretty
No,
sure
no. I mean, we ate all of it. I think it was good.
what she said.
I think.
But-
yeah. Oh my God. I think universally everybody hates the soundboard.
I think at
That's what I think about your comment, little Alex.
You waited till Rudd was going to talk. That was very nice of our guest, or very nice of you
well,
to our
I
guest.
expected at this point. I think what we're dealing with here again is that 90% of people who bass fish, specifically bass fish. I looked up another statistic. It said 30 million people say that they fish for bass. Okay, well, saying that you fish for bass is a lot different than being a bass fisherman.
Yeah, 100%. Yep.
And having an obsession with bass fishing.
Yep.
Right.
But I think what's fascinating about this conversation is that we focus on 150 to 250 dudes who do it
Mm.
on a level that no one else is doing it on,
Yep.
because it's the only thing that we could focus on for years and years and years, because it was the only thing, the only type of media being produced around the thing that we love so much.
Mm-hmm.
There was only
So
people to look up to.
it's
what
not
was on
only to
TV.
look up to, but just to look at.
Yeah.
Outside of
Idolized. They were only
outside
people
of
idolized because they were the ones.
No,
out.
I think what Rudd's saying, it was the only media out there. The only thing they were
outside
pushing
of
out
Bill
was tournament
Dance
stuff. Yeah.
and Roland Martin and Hank Parker and Jimmy Houston,
Fish.
and then Zona, and then Dave Mercer had his show, and then Ike had his show. I mean, like, you're talking about all together there, like maybe 6 TV shows about bass fishing and 2 tournament organizations to watch on TV.
Yep.
And we had such a boom in the 90s because everybody was still looking at TV.
Yep.
But now that and so, like, all these people would look at these guys, but at the end of the day, they still just loved going out with their son or their grandfather or their dad or their brother or their sister or their nephews or whoever it was. And they just love fishing. And they only looked at that because that was the only thing that we had to look at, that we associated with this thing that we love so much. Now, with the growth of YouTube and podcast and TikTok and Instagram and all these different ways that we can now consume fishing media, and that the world seems to get a little bit smaller every day because you can access everything from red fishing to sail fishing to bass fishing,
Mm-hmm.
people like me have found their home, because I never looked at tournament fishing and wanted to do it. I wanted to be like Steve Irwin. And so now I get to make my own thing in this world that we're in, and do my own thing. And I don't have to care about tournament bass fishing anymore. And so what we've done here is we've come to this point in it's it's whatever Kang the Conqueror said when the thing broke and the multiverse opened up. He said it's like the precipice. We've come to the precipice of this.
I think he said, hooty hoo.
Hoo-doo! He said, oh shit, we're about to
Hey.
make some more movies. But anyway, because I'm about to be the main villain in this bitch. But anyway,
I've got something to add on when you're done with this.
Okay.
Real quick.
We've come to the precipice. We've come to the turning point in everything that we've got going on here, that the professional bass fishing no longer has to be the pinnacle
Mm-hmm.
or the thing that people look to. And so now that people don't have to look to it anymore, you got guys who are setting back and analyzing it probably way too damn much, because we've got way too much time on our hands, and starting to realize just how weird and obscure a thing that it actually is. And then even me, I can admit how weird and obscure of a thing that even I am, and even bass fishing is, and even fishing is. And I think when it all comes down to it is who cares what a professional is? Who cares if it's gambling or not? Who cares what it is, really, right? It's still just fishing. And I think fishing is the thing that we all just want to look at. And it's just that some people want to look at professional bass fishing because that's all they've ever known. There's a generation of kids who just look at YouTubers because that's all they've ever known. And unfortunately, there's a dying generation of people who look at guys like Jimmy Houston and Hank Parker and Bill Dance because that's all they've ever known.
Mm-hmm.
And so looking into the future, I don't know what happens from here, because there's still a group of guys who grew up that want to be the very best, like no one ever was.
Yep.
And go bass fishing and tournament bass fishing. But there's a whole nother group of dudes, these counterculture guys, these guys like me, guys like you guys that are coming up in this like whole other thing over here that we're going to do something different. You know,
hold on. Did Rudd just put us in the same category as him?
Absolutely. Because at the end of the
He's
day,
being nice.
I mean, at the end of the day, you guys have created this like this podcast and this thing where we can have this conversation. 10 years ago, this would have never happened because the ability wasn't there. And now there's dudes who are going to listen to this, agree, disagree, whatever, and they're going to have consumed a media source around bass fishing that, I mean, it's literally called Bass and Brews.
Yeah.
They've consumed a media source around bass fishing specifically that had never existed before. And so I think that's why we're having these conversations. Is it's weird.
Yeah. Yeah.
What
I think the whole, yep.
So
what I'll say, I'll be quick on.
And I got to go to bed because I'm tired.
Yeah. Be
I'll be
quick with it,
quick,
Paul. We got to end this.
So we need to have another episode to talk about the professional side of angling that isn't the professional touring guys, the YouTube guys, because that's a whole different other side. The second thing is we got to have an episode with professional saltwater anglers because we talk about the $100,000 payouts these bass guys are getting.
Yeah, they're a lot bigger.
Go fish saltwater where they're getting millions of dollars. And the other part of this is Rudd, we talk about the bill dances and all that. You and there are other people on the YouTube side that have taken over that TV side where people can idolize. And I know you won't like that term, but that's the best way I can describe it. People look up to you, they idolize you, they look at you in the same light that we did the bill dances and the Roland Martins and the fishing shows that we had.
I had a parent.
That's where we are. So we have to have a second episode to talk about the social media side of professional anglers because there are social media people who are professional anglers.
So
but it comes back to the idolization and putting people on that pedestal.
I will leave you with this. It was one of the most impactful things that was ever said to me, and it made me have like a pit in my stomach. There was a son. A dad and his son were watching me fish with Jimmy Houston. And the dad said, I was sitting there thinking, man, it's really cool that Alex is getting to fish with Jimmy Houston. And his son said, man, it's so cool that Jimmy's getting to fish with Alex.
Yeah.
And it was at that moment that I realized, like, it doesn't matter what I do from here on out. I'm part of the change. Like, I'm part of the ship turning. And so I need to embrace it. I need to go with it. And that's why we're having this conversation, is because we're in a weird place. It's weird. Like, this is weird. My job's weird. I love my job, but it is weird that I get to sit here and talk to you guys for 2 hours about this. You know what I mean? And we can have this conversation. So I love you boys. I'm going to bed.
Thank you, buddy.
See y'all later.
Hey, little Alex, what do you have for us?
What do you mean?